What is up, my beautiful people? My name is G-Vance and welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be talking about the new album by Tory Lanez entitled The New Toronto 3. This is the fifth studio album by Tory Lanez, which comes to us about 4 months after Chick State 5, which came out back in November of 2019. You know, that one was probably one of the best R&B albums that I've heard last year. And this is also a follow-up to The New Toronto 2, which came out back in 2017. So this is now the third installment to Tory Lanez's very popular and very beloved New Toronto series, you know, which is pretty much where he focuses like more on his like street inspired gritty raps and melodies and like pretty much like steps away from his like R&B like genre that we all really love as well. I'm gonna be honest, during the past 2 years of me getting into Tory Lanez's like music and just him as an artist, you know, I only knew him as the very talented singer that was working with the like really like great and nostalgic sounds of the bygone era of R&B and pretty much like paying homage to that like era of R&B that pretty much made it sound super fucking amazing. I honestly didn't know that Tory Lanez even made like a few rap projects, you know, during his time as an artist, and I just didn't know that he also like worked with the hip hop genre as well. So you could imagine my surprise when I like listened to an official first hip hop album by Tory Lanez, because I'm telling you all right now, I was not expecting the Tory Lanez that I got like in this album. And honestly, Tory Lanez did impress the fuck out of me on this album, you know. I was not expecting his rapping skills to be as good as they were on this album. You know, like the moment that I got hit with that really hardcore trap styled rap song in the beginning called Pricey and Spicy, you know, I immediately got hooked in, and I just really wanted to see the side of Tory Lanez that pretty much like nobody usually sees. Usually when Tory Lanez makes an R&B album, you know, he's like more chill about it, you know, it's mostly like really happy, and for the most part I feel like every R&B album that Tory Lanez makes is sort of like a celebration for something new that he's either accomplished or just a celebration of life in general. But on this album and on every other rap project that Tory Lanez has ever done, you know, it's a lot more different, because this album is way more intense. You know, he has a lot more aggressive and obscure lyrics, and I would say that he's a lot more emotional when he's rapping because of his like really great and unique storytelling skills. This whole album is a roller coaster of emotions, and I would say that Tory Lanez switches the tone of the album about 3 times. The first part of the album is pretty much Tory Lanez being spicy, you know, coming up with offensive lines, you know, like much more aggressive lyrics, you know, some pretty clever lyricism, and, you know, pretty much has that whole attitude of like, don't test my gangster. You know, the man like really does prove in this first part of the album that he does know how to rap, and he pretty much challenges anyone to battle him, because he pretty much does prove that if anyone were to like want to battle rap him or want to like send like a diss track on him, you know, he pretty much does show that he can be a force to be reckoned with the rapping skills that he has right now. I guess the first part of the album sort of made me understand why Tory Lanez decided to call out Joyner Lucas and Royce the 5'9" that one time, because when that whole feud was happening, you know, I didn't know that Tory Lanez had some rapping skills. So, you know, me, I was like, I don't know how this dude like thinks he can like call out like probably one of the best rappers that I know, like Joyner Lucas and Royce the 5'9", when he's just a fucking singer, you know. Like I honestly like felt confused because like me, I was like, you know, Joyner Lucas and Royce the 5'9" can body this fucking dude easily. And honestly, after hearing this fucking like this like first part of him like showing us his rapping skills, you know, I still don't think that he can beat Joyner Lucas and Royce the 5'9", because, you know, those two are some really talented rappers. But I do think he can like hold his own. You know, he honestly like did prove that he can hold his own when it comes to the whole like hip hop industry. And then we get to the middle part of the album where it immediately goes like from aggressive to sad. Like the fucking beats go from aggressive to chill. You know, Tory Lanez goes from an aggressive voice to a much more calmer like storytelling kind of voice. You know, this is the part of the album where Tory Lanez is pretty much like properly telling his whole life story. I didn't know anything about Tory Lanez or his personal life and just the kind of environment that he grew up in, and just hearing this middle part of the album finally got me to realize, you know, just where he's coming from. You know, the man was due from the start. You know, he obviously has had a lot of pain and still has a lot of pain like still bottled up inside of him. You know, I know that he let a lot of it out on this album, but you know, I can tell that it's still that like there's still like a lot of like past trauma that is eating him up. And honestly, like, he grew up broken, hopeless, and just this whole album, and I guess this like this specific like middle part of the album sort of like feels and sounds like the old school sad like gangster rap, where it's not all about them being hard, oh, I'm a thug, don't fuck with me, it's more like him expressing like the sort of trap he's in, and just like how he's doing like bad shit, but he like doesn't want to do it, but it's just something that he had to do to survive at the time. And then we get to the final 5 tracks on the album, which is pretty much like a much more happier tone. I don't want to say that he's like completely happy, because obviously the man has a lot of past trauma and just a lot of like bad experiences that are always going to be eating him up no matter where he goes. But I would say he's pretty much a lot more humble and like a lot more thankful at this point. At this point, Tory Lanez is expressing love to his city, his music career, his fans, his family, and most importantly, his son. The person that he did it all for. The kid that's in the cover of this album, and just pretty much like being thankful that he's made it this far. It's no doubt that Tory Lanez has had a really successful career so far, and honestly, he might be one of the best R&B artists that we have right now in modern day times. And on this album, he does like show like how lucky he is to like still have his career, at a time where most artists at this point like fall off, and pretty much like people stop giving a fuck about him and say that they should just like retire, that they're past their prime. But he also like does understand that it can be taken away and that he won't have it forever, and that the hardest thing about the music industry is staying relevant and keeping the career for as long as you can. So he does like show the importance of being humble and never forgetting where you came from, because at the end of the day it can all be taken away just like that. The biggest highlight for me is definitely the production value, because every time Tory Lanez makes a new album, the production value is the one thing I always look forward to, because I know for a fact that it's going to be unique, it's going to be different, and that it's always going to turn out super fucking great as like the past projects that I've heard by him so far. Besides the street inspired rap style that Tory Lanez has throughout this whole album, he also does add a little bit of trap to it. There are 2 times in the album where he goes back to his R&B roots, and once again gives us that nostalgic R&B sound that we all know and love. And there's even a few acoustic sounds to this album, including guitar and piano, which mostly show up throughout the like sad and sort of like more chill parts of the album. Another big highlight is definitely the 2 features on this album. Little TJ shows up on a song called Accidents Happen. I don't really fuck with Little TJ that much. I don't think he's as good as people hype him up to be, but I honestly didn't mind him on this album. Him and Tory Lanez get super fucking spicy together. I mean, like, they start dissing a bunch of people, they start like calling out a bunch of people and whatnot. Like, I feel like they were this close to calling out Eminem, which would have been fucking crazy but awesome to see, because I would definitely love Eminem to do another fucking diss track on somebody. But honestly, Tory Lanez and Little TJ sound so good together, and just like them being aggressive and spicy, and just like showing that they don't give 2 fucks about anything. It just like, I just really love that they're like using their platform to like say whatever they want, and pretty much with nobody there to stop their creative freedom. The other feature on this album is with an artist named Mansa, who shows up on a song called 10 Fucks, which is the only like full R&B song on this whole street inspired rap album. I don't know who Mansa is. He kind of sounds familiar, but I might be tripping. But he sounds super fucking good, especially next to Tory Lanez. Those 2 sound like angels. I kind of want them to do like an R&B album together. I once again love how Tory Lanez is like giving a spotlight to underrated artists that I haven't heard of, at least, because I honestly like want to hear more of this Mansa guy. This R&B tracks sounded so good. And I guess I find it kind of weird to like hear an R&B track on what's supposed to be a hip hop album, but I honestly am not mad, because it was a really like great and new touch, and like sort of a change of scenery. I honestly did like love that track entitled 10 Fucks. But besides the 2 features on this album, the final big highlight for me is definitely Tory Lanez himself. He really does shine on his own on this album. As I said before, he shows the side of him that nobody like really sees. He properly tells his whole life story of growing up broke and hopeless, and just being doomed from the start. And Tory Lanez just proved that he does have like really good rapping skills, that he is a force to be reckoned with, and that the rap industry would definitely be very like empty and incomplete without him. And even though I still prefer Tory Lanez R&B style more than his rap style, I still gotta give this album credit, because this album showed the true hunger of an underdog that I've been waiting for and looking for in a rap album. And honestly, it's an album that never disappoints, and I think this might be one of the best art projects by Tory Lanez that I've heard so far. Overall, this album shows Tory Lanez's true potential, and I highly recommend this one to all of you, especially the ones that have never heard a rap project by Tory Lanez before. I promise you, this album is gonna take you by surprise and is gonna impress the fuck out of you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed my review. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click that bell down below, all that good stuff, so you don't miss a single one of my uploads whatsoever. And don't forget to stay happy.
I could give at least 10 fucks what a bitch say. And I love Ferrari doing 80 while I switch lanes.